Ether has been absolutely dying to know, where's my show been and where have I been? Probably nobody. But hello, people of the internet. Welcome to the first of its kind, a live show / webinar. Heidi already asked, do I need to register for the webinar? Yeah, if you're not, please leave. No, I'm just kidding. If you register for it, if you guys throw your email in, you will get some of the stuff that we talked about emailed over to you. I basically realized that you don't necessarily have to register for something that's necessarily live, so it's not like whatever, a requirement. But welcome. And I hope that if you're an affiliate owner, if you're a coach, if you're just do some online coaching or whatever, some of the conversations that we'll be having today will hopefully add some value to that. Whether you guys are currently using Wodify as your gym software system, or whether you're using something else, which you should probably just use Wodify anyways. But if you are using something else, you'll still be able to apply everything here. So I will introduce Reagan here, who's going to be walking us through some of the workflows and some of the automations. In basically, we're using CFL as an example. So you guys we'll see like a real life like autopsy of the website and improvements that I could kind of make in terms of my workflow and automation. But she's a CrossFitter. You said you started what, 2012?
Yeah, I started 2012. I had never played any sports. My mom was like, you have to do something, and made me start CrossFit. I loved it so much. Did it pretty much ever since.
That's like, so when you started it, I know it's already like getting off into the weeds like right away, but like, what was your first class like? Do you remember? Because you were young, you obviously were younger if your mom made you start it, right?
Yeah, I was finishing my freshman year of high school. I don't remember my first class, but I remember it being the first time somebody was teaching me how to be good at something athletic versus like, you're not like naturally good at a sport or something. And then all I remember from the early years is how excited I would be when I would beat like a 45-year-old man in class, and how like mad he would be. We'd be like all out foot race on a 400 with some grown man.
That's amazing. Yeah. I never thought about it that way too, but yeah, you're right. I guess like there is there's like this whole element to it where you're like competing, for lack of better words, with like these random people that would be much older than you if you're starting as a teenager. So it would be awesome. Augustus, that's okay. You don't have to leave. I still love you. This is a place of inclusion. Just because you're not a coach or a gym owner doesn't mean that you have to run away. Please stay. We need the views. Judy, good to see you again. I feel like it's been a while. You're one of my favorite people. Matt Burns, what's up? Barkley, do you know who this guy is? Barkley Dale, the statistics nerd?
No.
I call him that, but he's actually one of the most useful people when you're running and gunning in a broadcast you could ever have. Like, not only does he know everything about the athletes, the statistics of it, the stories, but this man was running back and forth between our camera people and helping directing that. He was giving cues to the broadcasters. He was helping testing the internet with me and troubleshooting stuff on the first day. Like, Barkley was kind of the unsung hero of the last 2 weeks of broadcasting, and definitely did not get enough kudos or enough credit for everything that he did to help with and what he had to endure. He had to sleep on the living room couch.
Oh.
So you know what that means. He's the last to bed and the last to and the first to wake up every morning.
Yeah, and his back probably still hurts.
Yeah, that was for other reasons though. We won't get into that. Jordan's here. Yay, look at that. You got the whole crew. So anyhow, you've been working with Wodify now for how long have you been working with Wodify for?
I think it's 3 years this September.
Okay.
Yeah.
And prior to that, we were discussing a little bit, like you've basically ran affiliates before that, right? Like,
yeah. So my mom ended up buying our local CrossFit affiliate in 2018 and needed a coach. So she was like, you're getting your L1. I wanted to anyway, so it worked out. But I got my L1, and then a couple years later, started managing CrossFit affiliates in different states. So I did that for like 5 years. And my husband was in the military. We kept moving, and I kept having to like find new gyms to work at. And I thought there had to be a better way to work with affiliates that didn't require like starting over and over again every couple of years. So yeah, I'd used Wodify for years running those gyms, and it was like a really natural transition.
Yeah, that's one of the harder things, I think, and people probably don't realize this until they get into that position, is like, it's one thing to be the affiliate owner. It's another thing to like manage that affiliate and then also not have the necessary like autonomy that an owner does to make decisions or move that quick. So like sometimes those perspectives are misaligned when you're like, it'd be so much easier if we did this. And then you come across somebody who with like me, who's all like already freaked out about everything. Is like, we can't change. It's gonna fall apart if we change. And you're like, no, it'll be better. I promise.
Yeah. Everybody's still paying that like legacy of rate, first member rate that you gave them like 10 years ago. And I'm like, hey, listen, the business would make a lot more money if all your people were paying you.
You know what's funny to that point is like I was the biggest, like I was one of those biggest haters of that. I was like, I'm not raising my rates. It needs to be affordable. Like people need to. And then after being broke for like 6 years and affording absolutely nothing, you're like, maybe it's okay that I actually treat this as a business and make a little bit of money. And now I'm that guy that goes to like majority of the affiliates that I have conversations with, or just other people. I'm like, yeah, just raise your rates. And they're like, but, and I'm like, I'm telling you, just raise your rates. Like it sucks to have to do. And in your mind, you're telling yourself all these stories of why you can't. And as being as somebody who's had to do that 3 times in the last like 6 years, it's never what you think it is. And in fact, we've had a fantastic success record of everybody just staying with us. So it's been good. CrossFit, Barkley's back hurts from carrying the show. Absolutely it does. Pool boy, I'm Chinese, remember? Okay, I don't know what that's about. He said something earlier here, and I was going to take a, hold on. I'm still here, but not really. Maybe something happened to my camera.
Don't leave me alone with these people, man.
No, don't worry. Hold on. Give me like 1 second. I don't know what happened. You know what? We might have to use a crappy camera. Oh, no. You can still hear me, right?
I can still hear you, yeah.
Okay, now we'll just have to use this, which is all flushed out with this light.
That's okay.
That's what happens with your broadcast equipment. It eventually dies, apparently, if you don't charge all of it. So, all right. Better lighting, worse lighting, same lighting. Okay. Suze is a black square. Yes. That was what happened. Anyways, somewhere up here, Pool Boy said that you looked like his ex-girlfriend, and there's no way you're even in the same planet, let alone league as Pool Boy. So sorry, dude. We know that's a lie. All right. So here's what we're actually here to talk about. Enough with the antics. So when we talk about workflow in terms of automation, I want to start with just a basic level of like in your mind, with the experience that you have, not only with the gym softwares, but running different gyms at different states. Like, what does workflow even mean? Like, what is that?
So in Wodify language, workflow is like a process that you are trying to solve. And so we solve it through automation. So that may be like, what is the trigger that is going to kick off this workflow? And then it's a series of steps and actions that happen afterwards. But a workflow, like more simply, could be just like, what is your process for handling specific tasks or, you know, specific things that take place in your business? So everybody's got like some sort of process, whether it's like super dialed in or not. In our terms, a workflow is something that we are automating to help, you know, improve and polish up that process.
Yeah, and I'm going to show you guys a little insight here in a CFL's history past, and then Reagan's going to walk us through why it was absolutely terrible. Some of these problems we've already kind of resolved over time, but a lot of it we're going to tighten up a ton. And oh, look, they loved you. As soon as I went to a Black Sierra CrossFit set, the show improved. Hey, look, he's like assuming it's a guy. I don't know, but this person is now, they're trying to like woo you. Look at that. Oh, look at Kenneth. Oh, we'll take care of you. Yeah. See, they must like you. They're nice to you. They're not even nice to me.
We'll see once we get into the show a little bit.
Yeah, right. You get like the new person leeway there. Like I always make the joke that like everybody in my classes who I've coached for years are all like completely comfortable with me and just talk over everything I say or try to do. And anytime I have somebody who's new that's coaching, everybody's all like proper and listening. And I'm like, what in the world?
Give them 3 months.
So this is going to look pretty overwhelming as you guys see all this, but I wanted to show you kind of this old system that we have, and this is like a visualization of workflow. And we're going to get into kind of the nitty gritty of the first portion of it for this webinar, but this will just be food for thought as to anybody who is currently like looking at their onboarding system for their gym, right? And so what we did is we have the lead. This is the person who is interested in our stuff. That's how we're going to define the lead. These are all the channels that they could come in on, whether it's email, they walk through your door, they shoot you some sort of text or DM, or they call, heaven forbid, they call the gym. And then the question here is like, our first question was like, do they have CrossFit experience or not? And do we need to bring them into a no sweat intro? If they don't have experience, do they still want it or not? Or if they, if they do have experience, if they want it or not. If they don't have experience, we try to like push them towards that. If you see these big yellow things, these are decision points. And as you look at your workflow, your idea here is to eliminate as much decision points for your new members as possible. And then moving back even further than that, focusing just on the first portion of it is like, what happens when they reach that very first decision point? And the decision point might be, what kind of communication do you have with your lead or potential member after they come in through one of those channels, whether it be walk-in, email, text, DM, call, whatever the case may be. And so my current system before it, if you're an owner or operator of a gym, this might resonate with you, is that I didn't have any system and it was just me. And I had to, whether they showed up and filled out a physical waiver and I had to like chase them down from that, whether I had to text them back on my own or whatever the case may be. And that's might be where some of you guys are at today. So Reagan, I'll turn it over to you and just kind of looking in terms of like workflow for some of these, like what is something I should be thinking about in terms of like, let's assume that I am moving towards getting an actual gym software and it's not going to be me like delivering or responding to all those things. Like what's some of the low hanging fruit I could think about right away?
Well, I think one thing that you and I started talking about when we first started looking at this process was like, do you have a clear next step based off of all of these channels? What happens when somebody sends you an email? What happens if they walk in? Do all of your coaches know how to get that person to the next step where they even like encounter a decision point? Text DM, where is that going? Is that just going to your cell phone? And if you're live streaming an event, like they're just going to be sitting there waiting for you. On call, like does your phone from the gym like even work? Is it
sketchy? Maybe it does, maybe does it.
What happens if they call and nobody answers? So we had talked a little bit about like just dialing in those processes and making sure if you have all of these channels open for somebody to come through, you have a clear process of what happens next. So we talked through that walk-in a little bit because you were like, hey, I actually don't have a clear process for my coaches. They're going to probably be running class. You don't have a full-time front desk person. And so they need a quick and easy way to get somebody's contact information captured so that then they hit that next point. And so that could be a couple of different things we talked through. It could be a QR code on the wall that you say, hey, scan this. You're going to book a no sweat intro appointment with us, based off of your schedule. That's going to automatically take away the decision point for them. It's just going to say, hey, we got an appointment set up for you. And then it's going to immediately capture all of their information. They're going to start getting appointment reminders, and that next step is already taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when it comes to like, even if you do have a smaller staff or you're running majority of the classes together, in your mind, you might be, and I'm speaking from my experience, because this is kind of the story I told myself, is like, oh, the gym's not big enough. I don't have enough staff to like deploy one of these gym softwares. Right. And that was like the opposite of the decision that should have been made, because I realized that if I would have had, like, at one point you guys were like, hey, you could even put a QR code up on your door to where if you were to show up and no one was there, someone could actually just scan the QR code. It would give them the waiver option. It would show them the class schedule. It would shoot them a triggered automated message, and they would be able to start interacting with you and your business, and you would know that they actually showed up and were there.
Yeah.
And so that for me right away is like a huge point, because if your system is kind of lit up to, well, we don't really have that many walk-ins, so we kind of just deal with it on a case-by-case basis. This was what I did. And then you realize that when that does happen, you're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table, because you either look flustered trying to manage them in the class and they're like, whoa, this dude is kind of all over the place. Or you go, okay, yeah, I'll get to fill this out. And then you leave and then you just completely forget about it. Right. So one of the things that I think that was really valuable with Wodify was the ability to be able to just give new people an access point with or without you being there, and then being able to have communication with the business right away.
Yeah. And you don't want your next step with somebody who made all the effort to walk in your door, which is so scary and intimidating, to be like, oh, wait, let me just like write down your phone number real quick. Hopefully you wrote it down correctly. And then that person may or may not ever hear from you again, depending on how busy you got after class. Did you actually pass that information along? It just leaves that person who wants to take the next step feeling really confused and like unsure of if you have your shit together and you know what their next step is, and if they should even like keep pursuing joining your business. So we can do the same thing with email. So let's say somebody fills out like a lead form on your website or something. The next email, you can send an email to them in 5 seconds after they hit submit, like, hey, we got your interest. Thanks so much. A real person's going to call you shortly. In the meantime, if you want to just book that no sweat intro so you can get right into the next part of the process, here's the link to do that. So it's like acknowledging this form went somewhere. We've got you. Somebody who's a real person is going to be following up soon. And, you know, if you don't want to wait any longer, here's what you can do to get started faster.
Yeah. And I love that, because one of the things that I've been like thinking about is generalization kills clarity. And like, it's something that I keep going back to. So if you have this generalization, well, generally the process kind of like works like this. It oftentimes people get left like feeling confused, and that confusion creates like a frustration. Right. And so that, like, to avoid that as somebody interacting with your business for the first time and feeling like there's some sort of like frustration point there, is an easy way to eliminate it. Now, a couple of these, let me address some of these questions. Jonathan Ortega, is this a female version of Susan? Yes, the smarter, better looking version of myself. Barbell Spin, did I hear correctly? Susan's gym is now affiliated with Les Mills. Spin. He's just stirring the pot. I already know. Jonathan, isn't that a plotty place? Yes. Franco, why does Wodify share our info with Two Brain Business for money? The big question should be is, why does every single data collection company do it? At least you know it's happening here. And secondly, Franco, you get a lot of that information back in terms of the state of the industry report that Chris Cooper puts together. So I don't really and this might be a story I'm telling myself, Franco, you know how I get all worked up over here, but that almost seemed like a negative condescended like comment. And I don't view that as negative, because Chris and the people at Two Brain Business use all that information, then give it out to free for all the gym owners and affiliate owners that then use that information. Hopefully they do, and start to change some of their processes, or just give them better data on what's happening in the state of our industry. Remember, that should probably be a function of HQ. But it's not. And so luckily we have people like Chris Cooper at Two Brain Businesses that constructs those deals, not only with Wodify, but with Push Press, with Cigarette, all these other things as well. So we could have a collection of data that, by the way, costs him thousands of dollars to create, and then we get that for free. So just keep that in mind. Also, too, I absolutely adore you and your daughter. So there's that. All right, so getting us back on track, one of the things you mentioned about the workflow was the trigger. And so what you're talking about there is like, so if somebody does put in the waiver, if somebody does make contact with my business, automatically the software is going to use that as the trigger, and then it sends out whatever you put in steps or processes next. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's always in the background looking for these things to happen. So if somebody fills out the lead form on your website, you may have multiple forms. Once you get your Wodify site up, you may have one for specific programs or interests people have. And just filling out that specific form could drop them into an automation with, information about the program that they're interested in versus like broad general information. And then the other thing we're looking for is like, well, maybe they didn't fill out a form, they booked a trial, or they booked a no sweat intro. We're going to just be treating them based off of that action that they took. And then the coolest part is that we're always checking for change. So if I filled out a form And then I got that email afterwards that said, book a trial or a no sweat intro. And I booked. Wodify is going to check immediately to make sure that that did or didn't happen, so that they stop getting the I filled out a form, generic info follow-ups, and they get switched immediately into the I booked a trial, treat me as a trial follow-up. So that helps take away like some of that awkward communication that can sometimes happen when you're the one manually updating like what communication funnel somebody should be in.
Yeah. And as hopefully you get more complex in terms of your lead generation, as you're putting in ads or different things like that, it'll recognize which channels all those people came in on. So then that should allow you to be able to take that data back and say, okay, we could do less of this and more of this because we know that these people are coming in through here and not a lot of people are coming in through here.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like, as far as what happens next, it's really up to you. But the way we handle it is a nice mix, I think, of automatic and manual touch points. So we actually automate task assignments in most of our automations because we think it's important, just like most of you do, who are like scared of automation because you don't want to lose that human element. We think it's important that you have some of that there. So if somebody fills out that form, they get the email, but then you or your manager, whoever, also get a task to then call that person and offer that human touch point so that it's not just, a string of automated emails and texts.
Which is a really good point to make. So, and I just want to drive like the point of clarity for this. So like, not only does that trigger send out any other information to the individual people like, hey, thanks for reaching out, book this no sweat intro, but it'll also say, we'll give you like somebody else will make contact with you, or you could put that however, but more importantly, it alerts the person who needs to make contact via like some sort of notification. So then that way they go, oh, cool, I'm not at the gym or I'm doing my own thing, but I know right now that somebody put in a waiver, somebody made contact with the business, and I could either jump on the phone and call them right away, or even just reach out with a double text and be like, hey, that was an automation before. This is an actual human. My name's Matt. Good to meet you. And for me, it's not like avoiding automation. It's only when you stick human beings in an automation loop that people actually hate it. People actually love quick communication and knowing that their paper got handed in or that their contact information got received and that they will receive a callback. So I like the difference between the two, or utilizing both of them, but also calling out the difference of being like, hey, that was an automation. The human will be getting in touch with you, or a phone call immediately afterwards, being like, I'm an actual human. Welcome to the gym.
Funny enough, I was just listening to one of Chris Cooper's. He does these like super short podcasts. They might be like 10 minutes, kind of quick hits. And he dropped a stat was 80% of buyers go with the first person to respond to them. And I think that includes automation. Like I moved to Fort Lauderdale about almost a year ago. I was reaching out to CrossFit gyms in my area. One followed up with me almost immediately, even though I booked a drop-in at like 9 p.m. It was definitely automated, but a real person then picked up the next part of the communication when I asked a question. And I went and dropped in that next morning, but I didn't hear back from another for, a full like 24 hours after. And for me, that could have been the difference in where I ended up joining. So
yeah,
it's super important to be fast. People typically aren't just looking at your business when they're making these decisions. They're looking at all of their options and weighing all those options, and like how quickly you respond is going to impact what they decide to do.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact like statistic that you're talking about, but I think it was something like significant difference if the lead is contacted, especially with the human follow-up, within like a first like 10-minute window. And then after that 10-minute window, even going just to an hour later, the percentage of like getting him in the door goes from, and I'm making these up, you guys can fact check it, but it goes from basically like 80% of them coming through the door, like immediately dropping down to like a 20% or something like that, where it falls off a cliff in terms of like really getting them able to get in through the door. So that's why like the timing of it, not only of them getting contact through an automation, but then you getting contacted to contact them is crucial. And if you are able to do that with some sort of speed and some sort of hospitality and knowing that they're being taken care of, your chance of conversion becomes significantly more. Like you were just saying, simply making the judgment call of going to gym A or gym B because gym A picked up the phone or called me back or had some sort of touch point there, like it's the easiest low hanging fruit a gym can make a change in with limited resource pool that could help like significantly.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a lot if you're doing it all yourself. So I think like automate to your comfort level. Like if you're a little hesitant, start with more manual. But as soon as you start realizing how much automating the things that you don't really need, they don't need to be said by you, like it's going to help so much. Like that initial text you send to somebody when they reach out is probably pretty much the same text every single time, but sometimes you might do a better or worse version depending on how busy you are. Send the perfect version every time, let somebody respond, and then you pick up the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, just the speed of it alone is worth its weight in gold, even if it is automated, because like you said, they know that like, oh, there's something on the other end, and my like information went somewhere and I'll be contacted. One of the other things too, I'm gonna bring this back up momentarily here, my confusing flow chart, is when we went into this new onboard process that we adopted like a few years back, right? So we got rid of like a lot of the decision points and we started attaching different automations to these. Now, the problem that I ran into was the fact that like the gym software I was using before in the website didn't communicate. And one of the things that is huge, not only in terms of like the workflow and automation with your new leads, but also for your current members that are in there. So like recognizing like there's like PRs and having that automatically show up to a coach or automatically reach out to a member, or having the system know like, hey, this is this person's 10th time checking in, or they're on some sort of streak where they've come every single day for the last 60 days or something crazy, right? So then that way I could not only follow up with that individual, it alerts the other coaches, but we could celebrate those successes. So do I have that right? Is that also something that works within like the workflow kind of automation as well?
Yeah, so I'll set the stage for that a little bit more. So
Okay.
if you are somebody who's currently using an automation tool that's external to your CRM, you're probably doing a really good job with that lead portion and the lead follow-up. And so what people are experiencing is this like, high touch, personal, like lots of communication while they're a lead. They become a member and then suddenly it shifts. Now they're only hearing from you in class. They're getting those couple touch points when you check in with them during and after class, but like regularly, they may not be really hearing much from you. And I think that's typically because when your CRM and automation tools are disconnected, it's not easy to check that client behavior. It's more straightforward to be like, okay, they're a lead, I'm going to drop them through this funnel or move them over to, cold lead nurture. But when somebody's a member and I can't tell when they're changing behavior, like, oh, maybe they stopped attending class for a week, like let's flag that person and automate, a text to check into them, or automate assigning you a task to give them a call. Like you're doing that automatically versus being like, oh, I haven't seen Reagan in 2 weeks in class, wonder if everything's okay. And then I'm like, hey, actually, can you pause my membership? I'm not making it in. So we're able to like see and kind of get ahead of things, and then also make sure we're not only reaching out to our members when bad things are happening. They're not coming in,
Right.
I want to cancel, and now all of a sudden I'm paying attention and I want to keep them there. Like be proactive, celebrate wins, let them know like, hey, you're coming up on your 1 year, like that's so awesome. Can you share something, that you're proud of in your last year with us? Like it just becomes this more natural opportunity for member engagement.
And I think like the biggest thing too is like the retention tool is massive there, because like you said, if you don't have some sort of tool that's like notifying you like way out ahead of the fact that they haven't come in the last month or they haven't come in the last 6 weeks, and then you do reach out, most gym owners experience exactly what you said, where it's like, hey, where have you been? We missed you. And you're like, oh, I haven't been able to make it. Can you cancel my membership? And you're like, should I have even reached out? Like would I have gotten one more month of revenue off of that? Right. And for us, like, and it's speaking for my gym specifically, like we want people that are engaging with the gym. We don't like, our model isn't the 24-hour fitness model where they pay and we hope they never show up. Like we get returning customers and we build our communities by being able to give them results and keeping that touch point. And I do believe, and you could correct me if I'm wrong here, but one of the things that Wodify has specifically is it starts to rate people like at risk like if we start to see trends with them not showing up, which allows us to get out ahead of it before it's that 6 weeks or 4 weeks go by. And you could even like, and we've seen success with this where I actually approach with the upsell, like, hey, Reagan, I've noticed you've fallen off like the last like week or so. Why don't you come in for a quick goal setting session? Or is there any support that we could lend you? And all of a sudden they're like, yeah, actually, you know what I do? Like, let's go, I'll come in for that, or we'll discuss this and get them back on track with the game plan. A lot of times you'll have somebody that might have just something that's not really an injury, but it's nagging. And then of course they go to the doctor, and what does the doctor tell them? Well, stop moving around for the rest of your life and sit on the couch. Us as CrossFitters know that that's terrible advice. And if we just had a touch point with that member earlier on, we could have been like, no, Reagan, don't worry about that. We know there's the shoulder thing. Let's put together a game plan to fix that. And now that we know that, we'll scale all these workouts back to not use your shoulders ahead of time. And then you alleviate them feeling like, oh, I have to come in and tell a coach this every time, or I have to talk through that, and being able to get out in front of it, being alerted as the affiliate owner or the coach, and then having communication with that member way out ahead of all that is going to help your retention a ton.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is an automation, but one thing that's super nice is on the Wodify app on the class list as a coach, I can see any notes or tags associated with my members in my class. So like if you tagged me as injured, just as like a quick way to be able to see it, the coach could then click on my name and see what the injury is. And so they can kind of prep ahead of that class and make sure, like, again, that member is not having to explain their injury every single time. For some people, it could be like things they don't want to explain. So yeah, it's like a really nice tool to be able to internally communicate in a really smooth way. It makes people feel valued.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to answer this Triple D here. I thought from that look at that picture, I thought he was like doing a pull up on like a volleyball net or something. I was like, that is crazy impressive, but just the background. Oops, I was on Susan's channel just getting here. Is this about an app and programs or build out a system? So this is general information just on lead automation and workflows. And then the gym software, obviously we're talking about here, is Wodify. That's the gym software that I have converted to recently and will be using more of, and you guys will be hearing more and more of the conversations of like what it's done to turn around the gym and communication, specifically with retention when it comes to my members. Barbell spin. Make sure to tell them happy birthday, which I noticed this in the app right away. It started popping up with my members' birthdays on the coaches side of things. So yeah, that absolutely is one of the features too, right?
Yeah, you can actually make that visible to everybody in the gym. So like I, as another member, could see that it's your birthday and, you know, give you a shout out in class too. So that's pretty cool. But one thing I just want to hit on something that is this about apps or processes. I think one of the things that you notice when you switch, which is what happened with you, Matt, when you started switching to Wodify, you started realizing how many holes there were in your process. Like, even we were talking about your website earlier, like I encourage all of you to look at your website from like an outsider perspective and think, would I click on these buttons? If I did, and fill out your own form and see what happens on your website. If you haven't in a while, like test it, see what that process is for somebody coming into your business, and then think through, like, am I doing a consistent job offering every single person that expresses interest, you know, like giving them clear next steps, ways to get in the gym, and then post joining, am I doing a good job still offering that same level of attention and consistent follow-up to my members? And then you can think through different ways you can do that in a scalable way. We like to automate a lot of it to just kind of take off the mental load of trying to think about all of these things all the time, because the reality is it's typically like 1 to 2 maybe part-time people managing these gyms, and like it's a lot. You want to do all this yourself, but it's just kind of impossible to always remember everybody's birthday. Or
I can tell you right now, when I had close to like that 100 member mark to 115 member mark, and this was probably like, you know, 6 years ago or 7 years ago, and I was running all the classes and stuff, I was like the guy that was like, I know everybody's name, I know their spouse's names, like I got the birthdays down. And like at something happens and you reach this tipping point of like people coming in and your gym growing and some of the older people washing out just due to life changes or moving and stuff, and all of a sudden you cannot keep track of it all, of all that. And those little tiny things that seem invisible sometime, but add to the collective experience of contacting and communication in just the general class of your gym really make it up. Like I like to use the analogy of like you're building like a cake essentially, right? So you're like, any one of these ingredients on their own don't seem that crucial, but if you leave one of them out, there's no way you bake a great tasting cake, right? And I know somebody's going to be like, he's talking about sugar and the whatever, but that example resonates with me because you can have a lot of the stuff up there, but if you leave one or two things out that may seem seemingly not that big of a deal, it has a massive effect on the overall product.
Yeah, you could be doing it for 99 people and forget that one person, and now they're out your door. Like, it's just nearly impossible.
Yes.
Especially if you hit that like 150 member threshold, it becomes, you can't keep track of that many people.
No, you're 100% right. Cara Smith, our gym switched from StreamFit to SugarWatt, and it's terrible. Switch to Wodify. If you use the link that's in the description of the bio there, not only do you get a deal, but on top of that, the walkthrough, the help that I got from Kevin from the product side, the stuff that we got from like Jordan, just everybody making it really easy in terms of answering our questions super quick and helping make that switch has been phenomenal. So, Cara, if you are looking for it, just use that link down there and book a demo, talk with them. It's super easy too when you book the demo. I've pointed a couple people at it and they really enjoyed the fact that they got really informed, and it's not like this weird high pressure push to get you into anything after that. Matt Burns, Susan, which one did you switch from? I was going to use this because CrossFit said, what the F is StreamFit? Dude, the one that I use is called Wad Together. No one's ever heard of it ever. And I bought it because it was the cheapest option in 2015. And then I got into the situation of like, well, now I have 200 plus members. I have all these things coming in, and I've like entrenched myself in this and started to tell the story of that switching to a gym software was going to be this overwhelming task. And I can tell you that that was just a story that I told myself because, in all honesty, once I actually made that jump and made the switch, like Reagan said here, like it opened up all these little things and I'm like, holy crap, there is a massive improvement that I could make here. And immediately we don't even like July 1 is going to be the full big switchover, but we've already started to move all of our new programs, which we've had more sales with internally. We've already put all of our new members through there already. And I can tell you right now that it's already done a lot for us dollar amount. And we'll get into that with like one of the either webinar further on, or I'll just do like a solo vlog and really like show you guys the difference between, but it was more significant than I would have assumed at the start. So don't view it as like a fear thing. Do it as like a opportunity as you go through. But yeah, Wad Together was what I used, and nobody's heard of it.
Yeah,
yeah, I knew you weren't gonna hear it. You know all of them pretty well. So like the fact that I was like said it, you're like, what the heck? Yeah, _+D. Go and use the link, book the demo. You might even go through it with like Jordan or somebody, and they'll break down all the stuff, and it'll kind of blow your mind.
Yeah, I did a full software migration for a gym I managed at like 21 or 22, like, and I didn't know anything. So if I could do it, you can do it. I did switch them to Wodify pre-working here.
See, there you go. You've done it a couple times, right? Like I think when we had the conversation, you were like, I did like one.
I did it once. They were on another software, and I'd been using Wodify at a previous business, and I'd been spoiled, and I wanted it, so they agreed to make the jump. But
yeah. It's always, and I think they said StreamFit does not track our workout history well, but the owners like it because it does a lot like on their end. Well, I'm not sure what StreamFit does in totality, but if they like the automated stuff and then you want more in terms of like workout tracking, then Wodify covers both those bases.
Matt, so I had a question because we were talking about those member engagement opportunities, and it got me thinking about ways you can leverage those to kind of like get more people into the business. So one thing that I want to make sure you're aware of that we do is around certain milestones and celebrations, we'll actually ask that member for something in return. Like, thank you so much for being with us a year. do you want to refer a friend, or do you have a friend you think would be a good fit here? Or like, can you leave us a Google review? And I don't know if you've ever like looked at how many Google reviews do I have? How do I get more? But a lot of times people will do these like one-off pushes for Google reviews in their business. They'll get everybody to go in and leave a review. But they don't have like an ongoing plan for how to continue to get more reviews over time. It's really important to have up-to-date reviews for Google and when people are looking for you. So one thing, just a little tip, is find people when they're already happy. Something good just happened. They hit a PR, they hit a milestone, they hit a year with you, whatever. And then ask for a little bit in return, like celebrate them and then ask them to share when that kind of moment's top of mind for them.
Yeah, that's a great point. And like you're saying, oh God, hope we can hear that. That was awful. This is what happens when I break down all my streaming stuff and take it across the country. It just starts falling apart. Yeah, and that's one of the things too, like you were saying with opportunity. So we're on a big push to try to get 100 Google reviews. We're at like 85, I think, right now or something. But being able to communicate with inside the software to those members and know that they just got the PR, it's their 100th class or whatever the case may be, to like streamline either a personal reach out to them just over the app or knowing it when they come into class to then ask is huge. Because like you said, that reciprocity, like they got all the like good feels about everything and they're like, yeah, I freaking love this place. And you're like, cool, say it on Google. And they're like, no problem. And being able to capitalize on those and just being the know about it in general, right? Like is huge,
People generally don't mind doing it. You just have to ask and ask consistently. I used to give away, like I'd run it for a week or two, like come in, leave a Google review and I'll give you a fit aid. And I'd do it for like 2 weeks and we get a ton of Google reviews and then it would be like crickets for months. And that was my mistake, is I never really put together a plan that was like, how am I going to keep this going over time?
And we literally did the same exact thing. So I'm excited to kind of like utilize, actually wrote down like what you had said there just as a note to myself to be like, okay, I'm going to talk with Albert after this. And like, let's put a plan in place to like, when we see these PRs come across or people are celebrating their wins inside the gym, like, can we go through and I give that ask review. And most of the time too, just for anybody listening, like if you typically ask your members, they're more than happy to. Like when you have a long-term member that's, been at the gym for a while and really loves it and has been bringing people in, they maybe just haven't left a review yet. You could literally just ask, and like the chances of them being like, yeah, no problem, sorry I didn't do before is pretty high. We got Jeff Birchfield here. Excuse me, who is the guest?
Hi, Jeff.
And then Jonathan says it's the girl Sousa. Jeff. Okay, well, so that handled that. Yeah, I know.
The dark hair.
I have mine too. Like I have that same sweatshirt, and I would have worn it if I didn't get myself all hot and sweaty running around setting up, dealing with like my computer restarting and the technical difficulties that I should have assumed were going to happen during this webinar thing. Like
it's inevitable.
It's the inevitable. Yes. I want to touch base real quick on this just for like the sake of our timing in terms of, so Wodify just put out kind of this summer retention thing as far as like utilizing outdoor stuff or anything like that. Let's talk about that a little bit. And then if possible, let's throw a link in the chat or we could put it up in retrospect in terms of like pointing people to it if they want to either just utilize this directly as it is, or they could take the idea, kind of make it their own.
Yeah, let me grab it. Real quick before, because we were just talking about Google profiles.
Yeah.
I did this really awesome interview with this guy named Carl Case, and we did a blog about it.
Oh, awesome.
If you guys are interested in like a free resource about how to optimize your Google business profile, that blog is like a written version, or if you'd rather watch, it's like a 30-minute YouTube video. In the blog, you can request the ChatGPT prompts. So he goes through like, oh, you should be responding to your Google reviews in like a minimum character number, which who is ever going to do that? So you can give these prompts to ChatGPT to like help increase your response. So that's a cool resource because we were just talking about.
Yeah, that is too. On the right-hand side, you'll see a thing called the private chat. Would you mind dropping that link in there? Because then I'll throw it in our show notes and I'll post it up in retrospect of this too.
Yep. Okay.
Just to point some people at it. Brandon, Wodify just finished our website for our gym. We literally had someone book a drop in the first day. It was finished versus before them having to DM/call. Dude, that has been one of the biggest things. Like Albert loves it because in his defense, like I kind of handed him over this like crappy system and he's like digging, like he has really dug into all like the stuff that Wodify has to offer, even more so than I have, because like it's made his life so much easier because now people drop in rather than having to be like, okay, we got your drop in, let me conversate with you, okay, come in 5 minutes early to fill out the waiver. All right, on top of that, I'm going to send you a link so you can make another profile for the gym so we could actually charge you. Like all of that friction is gone. They already have the waiver by the time they come through. They're already getting automated messages and they could sign up like directly for class there. So it's yeah.
Yeah, if somebody hands me a paper waiver when I walk into their business, I'm like, what are you doing? Come on. Who even knows how to use a pen anymore?
Oh my gosh. We were so like old school. We didn't have it for a little bit, then we like had it back again. It was nuts.
All right. So yeah, Grace is our director of brand and communications, and she used to do marketing for a company called Alchemy, which is like kind of sprawled out of CrossFit, became this like really big, I think like 9 location business. So basically she's like a marketing genius, but also knows specific to the fitness industry how to, kind of take care of Mrs. Paper Waivers, how to take advantage of like some summer growth tactics on like low budgets. So she just launched these 2 blogs I'm going to share with you guys. The first one is the summer check-in challenge, which I think many people have tried something like this before. But yeah, if you request, so that's the outdoor class. That's the next one I was going to talk about.
Oh, okay, let me pull that.
That summer.
Got it.
So this one's super easy, which is why I started with it, because it's kind of just focused on engaging your existing member base over the summer. I, in the past, have run like bingo. People love that. Like we have bingo cards and everybody gets one and they're, holding a 2-minute plank after class and then having the coach sign off on their square. They're taking pictures. But it's just a way to keep them engaged. This is a check-in challenge, and she gives you like the template to, print out and put on your wall at your gym, email templates to like announce it. So this is a cool free tool you guys could use if you're looking to kind of boost some engagement. But I think the really cool thing she did in this blog is she tells you a way you can make it worth their time, which is with like an account credit. So yeah, you'll see more details towards the end, but you can pick the reward. If they hit a certain number, you can enter them in like a drawing for a free month. You kind of have to figure out how much money you're willing to like spend by giving these credits or free classes, but
yeah, this is, so just to make this clear, and this is of my opinion. I don't want to get any crap on Reagan here as I go through this. This is exactly the type of tools that should be presented inside of an affiliate toolkit. CrossFit is sitting on their hands and they have no idea what to do because they have no idea what constraints gym owners are up against, affiliate owners are up against. And this is fantastic because if you look here, you could download the whole entire free toolkit. If you scroll a little bit down, they have the whole entire kit that they put together, from the printable templates to the printable check-in trackers to the Instagram stories on your graphics to even the progressions. You could scroll further down here and you could print all these actual physical checkers, and it gives a whole entire little blurb and like what the power of like physically tracking something and having that public displayed. If you guys heard me talk about Grace, not Wodify, but my wife, she does that nutrition challenge every year that's super popular. And one of the things we have is like these public physical leaderboards where things are actually marked. And I can tell you that the amount of people that huddle around that and the behavior changes that comes from public shaming is, and I use that tongue in cheek, right? But also public like accomplishments and affirmation like on there with the board is huge, and it gets a lot of buy-in. So this is one of the free tools that is on here, because you could download a bunch of this stuff and you could either use it for idea generation and just tweak it a little bit to make your own, or you could use exactly what is laid out here. So that's pretty cool.
And if you're on Wodify, because I saw we had at least one, Brandon, you can actually set this up in progressions, which if you scroll to the bottom of that blog, I have a video where I walk you through how to set it up. So if you want to do like a digital version of this check-in challenge, it's down at the bottom, the video of how to set that up. And then, yeah, the other one was the outdoor class series, which I thought this one was really great too. This is more focused on lead gen. So what Grace did with Alchemy is they ran these free outdoor summer classes on Saturdays, and they would do things like chalk bombs, like chalk the sidewalk, where it was going to be the week before. And they would do that week after week over summer. It's just a free way to kind of grow their brand awareness. And she saw a 200% in leads. So yeah, so she has real data to back this up when she ran it for Alchemy, but it's just a really great way to build brand awareness. It's less intimidating to show up at your local park than to show up at a CrossFit gym where a bunch of people have their shirts off and they're throwing barbells around. So yeah, thought it was a really cool asset you guys can take a look at. And we did a webinar too. It might be linked in there with like a bunch of summer tactics, but some like free ways.
Yeah, and I mean the amount of like, look at that, like everything, to even like linking where to buy the tablecloth in the A-frame for setups, right? Like the microphones that you might need linked directly to Amazon for like the recommendation, or for you guys to find your own and stuff. So like this is something that I got really excited about, like in terms of doing these kind of like webinars or just like call outs here, is because there's a lot of these tools that exist that can make life so much easier for gym owners, or if you're managing a gym or just a coach, owner, operator doing it all yourself, like being able to have all this stuff to where whether you use it to tweak it to kind of put your own flavor on it, or you just use it exactly as it exists, it's going to save you a ton of time. And this audience like knows me pretty well, meaning like the thing that gets me is like the data, right? So like it's not a matter of fact of like someone kind of like pulling it out of thin air and being like, try it, and you're like, did you try this? Do you know if it works? Like, is this worth our time? To be able to like have it being put in front of us because somebody else like made it work and got value out of it is insane. It's great. And so both of those will be in the links that you guys saw in the comments there, but they'll also be in the show notes on this in retrospect. So if you guys are listening to this or checking it out afterwards, just go down to the description and you guys could get all of it there. Now, what was this one here? We've had a Wodify for 6 years. Wodify Sites edition has been wonderful custom app branding. Back-end vibes are 100. Yeah, that is one of the other things I want to talk about, which was really cool, was the announcements. So like you're able to put an announcement into the app that you would normally do at like your whiteboard debrief or with your class. And when they open that, it sits right at the top of it and alerts people right away, which has been great for us because not only do we utilize that, but then we take that and we blow it up on one of the TVs inside of our kiosk. So you have like the workout, then it has the announcement like double down. So we're like, there's no way we're announcing stuff and people like, if you don't hear about it at this point, like we can't help you. You must be blind and deaf because
you have to tell them 10 times something before they remember.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And with CrossFitters, it's more like 30 times. But before we kind of close this this first one out, was there anything that you wanted to touch on? I think we really went through a bunch of the stuff here, and just kind of to put in a nutshell, like we talked about automations, we talked about lead timing, we talked about why workflow and automation is important. We push that not only from new leaves, but we talked about how that can help with retention. And then we gave away 2 free tools that you guys can apply right now. Whether that's launching an outdoor class for leads, or whether that's utilizing kind of the summer slump that all the gyms get through this like time through like back into July to August, September, October. It always gets a little sketchy with lots of kids going back to school, last minute vacations and things like that. So having something there that keeps people attached to the gym with the tracker, the workout tracker through the summer, is a great retention tool as well. And as we utilize a lot of this stuff, you guys have followed, like, I'll be making and talking about a bunch of this, like with the direct results and what we did exactly at CFL as well. So this is kind of a sneak peek as to some of the stuff that you guys will see that we'll be creating. And then don't forget, when you guys are out there doing your outdoor classes or you're doing your summer tracker, have your phone handy and capture some of that to post it onto social media. It's also a great opportunity to get some local businesses involved in that outdoor thing, whether you set up in their parking lot at a downtown. That's a big leverage point, because if you're going to bring 20 people from your gym that are for sure going to show up for that workout, that's 20 people that you're bringing to a business. So get creative in terms of like what businesses that would work with in your local area, because that's, if they're willing to give up their parking lot for an hour or two for this big kind of like outdoor workout, it's going to, all those people at a local coffee shop, when they finish, are going to go get coffee. And so you could really kind of leverage that with other, businesses here. Jonathan Ortega, is Suze at the bottom? Yes, typically. Okay, Reagan, anything else we want to cover here?
We covered so much, so I don't want to give you guys anything else. I would say don't like try and fix it all right away. Figure out what the top priority is. Like maybe you're getting 10 leads a month through your website, but you're converting like one on average. Maybe lead conversion needs to be your focus, or on the other end, you're seeing a lot of members drop off over the summer, so you need to dial in on retention a little bit more. So maybe lean more into those things we talked about, but don't try and do it all at once, because you probably won't do as good of a job as if you just focus on, one or two things to fix. And let us know if you have any questions. We're always happy to just chat through processes and give you guys some tips, and feel free to keep your eyes on our blog. We've got some good stuff on there that's free resources for any of you all the time.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time. I had a lot of fun with this. I hope you had some fun with this. Yeah, because we'll definitely, like, I want to continue to elevate. I've listened to a couple of your guys' webinars that you do like internally and stuff, and they're great, and there's a lot of value. So we'll continue to like elevate those. And God, Jonathan, look at him. Thank you, girl Susie. You're smart as fuck. Okay.
Well, then I appreciate it. And then I wanted to tell CrossFit to do their Google business profile homework. He said homework.
Oh yeah. You gotta watch for CrossFit. And where am I watching? You're on YouTube, Jeffrey. Sometimes he gets confused. You're on YouTube, sir. This is YouTube. Is she with Wodify? Yes, she is. And I was just joking with Mr. Birchfield here. He's one of our regulars, and he's a very smart man. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of this. Like, download it, like, go do the whole thing. You guys, I've been getting so many emails, DMs, text messages. It's just been crazy. I know my show, you guys miss it so much. It's gonna come back. Not literally one person reached out, but that's okay. Like influencers, like, I've been getting so many questions about my hair care routine. It's like, you've got no questions. Don't lie.
It was actually them sending it.
It was me, anonymous, so that I just asked the question myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, guys, I'll be back doing some regular antics, and then I'll update you on the sell of CrossFit because it's been sold. We're going to leave you on that as a cliffhanger. Bye, guys. Reagan, thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.